Welcome, team. Every first Thursday of the month, there was a little confusion because it was originally the fourth Thursday, but we've clarified that every first Thursday of the month. So pencil it in. We will be rock and rolling here. We're diving into overdone spirituality today. As always, keep the engagement coming just through the chat panel, please. Keep your microphones turned off. That'll may have a slight disclaimer to share in a minute. We're going to rock and roll for 40, maybe 45 minutes. And then the last 10 minutes of the class, we've got something very special for you that we'd love to share with you. Give us a thumbs up if that's okay. Epic. Thanks, Penelope. Thanks, team. All right, beautiful. Nat,
Yo.
where are you taking us on?
Okay. Okay. Where are we going today? Where are we going today? Well, we're in the midst of a spiritual upheaval, guys. Everyone's engaging in their spirituality, and we're looking around now. If you've been hanging out with for a little while now, you see the world's changing, and people are reaching for understandings that are beyond our cultural mind. We want to know what's going on, right? We're seeing everyone. What the fuck's going on here? Everyone's off on their own little cosmic adventure in some way, shape, or form. And we're, you know, I've had a spiritual background in my life, my whole life, and it was very weird even 5 years ago. Now there's the spiritual conversations happening at cafes and in we're keen on it. We're bloody keen on it as a people. So, but it's alive. Spirituality is alive and well, and it changes things. If you have a sincere engagement in any spirituality, it's gonna change things. So this class is about what happens when you can overdo it, because you can get so attached to spiritual stuff really, really, really quickly and very sneakily. So hopefully this class gives some grounding into just things to look out for in yourself, others. And honestly, when people's bullshit gets all mixed up with their spirituality, that can be really, really hard to manage. Hard to manage as people, hard to manage as, you know, um, everywhere. When spirituality gets mixed into our common conversation, people can hide places and people can do really, really shady shit. So this class is about stripping back, what's our authentic spirituality versus what are our other responsibilities, and how to not get them confused. Is that cool? Sweet. So I want everyone to be wild spiritual adventurers. I truly do. I want everyone to absolutely send it, but there's a few things that have to be in place. So let's do it. Let's bloody do it. Here's what we've got for you today. We have, what do we mean spirituality? The three signs you've gone too far, how spirituality can inhibit maturity. That's a primary one. The grace and responsibility conflict. Again, a primary one. I've stuck to really primary conflicts. And then when spiritual becomes non-human, what to look out for. Just literally, my thinking this morning was, what have I seen across my desk? What have I seen in my consulting when it's gone too far? And I just got it all out. So here's where we're at. What do I mean by spiritual? This is our working definition currently in the Goi world. We're working with this, engaging in texts, practices, actions, and philosophy regarding the nature of reality, ethics, consciousness, and divinity. That's what we mean by spiritual. Engaging in text and practices and actions and philosophy, right, that are bigger than our usual mind. They tackle the big questions. The spiritual impulse in everyone asks the biggest questions about life, love, purpose, death, and beyond. It's the big stuff. It's the big, big, curious stuff. It's when you hit the edge, right, and you've been toiling away at work and things, you kind of got things how you want them, and you go, no, is this really it? Right, so just hands up, or comment or something. Who's engaging in something spiritual? In anything that's beyond the cultural. Yeah, just put hands up or comment, or what are you reading? What are you getting into? Like, let's start there. What are you guys engaging in spiritually? I'm really interested to know.
Okay, so there was a clear second question there, guys, as well as the hands up. What are you currently engaging in? If you're happy to share with us, Penelope sharing meditation.
Perfect. What type? Yeah, so you can give me some details in the chat if you can.
Just wait for some comments to come through.
Yeah.
Bridie sharing, I'm currently reading lots of spiritual texts that I haven't been exposed to before, i.e. the Quran.
Nice, bro. Nice. There we go.
Brett sharing time in nature.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Uh, Terry sharing working with a client and learning about the feminine kingdom.
Cool. There we go. Right. Oh, there's so many avenues beyond the usual rational mind. So many options.
Caleb sharing trying the Bible right now. Fun times.
Nice. Yeah, Caleb.
Interesting description there, Caleb. Fun times.
Fun times. Cool. Right. We're engaged. We're an engaged group. These are extra cultural material. There's, you can look for it everywhere. It's beautiful stuff. Let's keep yelp.
Hang on, NH. You'll like this comment, mate. Little pump the tires for you in the morning just to get you going.
Okay, let's go.
Someone shared, I moved away just recently from morning practices, breathwork, guided meditations, etc., and delving right into the Goy material.
Oi, that'll do it. That'll do it, guys. You want you want a hop, skip, and a jump. That'll do it. All right, cool. So here's I'm going to just do a usual comparison, comparing our sincere spiritual pursuits with how they can go too far. So I'm actually just going to move you guys out of the way quickly. All right, let's do it. First one, engaging honestly in any spiritual approach will sensitize you. So there's a difference between like reading the Quran, right, and engaging it sincerely. If you engage any spiritual work, it will sensitize you. It will make you more sensitive. So what can we look for when that goes too far? When you use spiritual knowledge to defend yourself and avoid interpersonal difficulty. I've seen this heaps in the last 2 years, guys. I'm not doing that interpersonal difficulty because I'm just going to hide behind my spiritual knowledge. Because, as it look on the left, authentic spiritual pursuits will sensitize you. You will become more sensitive. So interpersonal conflict gets harder because you feel it more. I'll get these out and then we'll discuss them. There is a lot to get through today. Engaging in honestly in any spiritual approach will enlarge your sense of self beyond cultural limits. If you practice a lot, if you do a lot of meditation or inquiry, you will enlarge. You will actually get a bigger sense of self. That's part of the natural process. If you quiet your mind down in any meditation technique, your sense of self will naturally enlarge because you're taking away the oppressive barriers of identity. Any meditation technique will do that. Your sense of self will enlarge. How do you know you've gone too far? Well, when you find yourself reinforcing your spiritual image with words, dress, places, and people, that's when the spiritual identity creeps in. So people start doing a practice and then all of a sudden they're thinking about how they dress. They want to portray a spiritual image. They only want to be in kind of spiritual places or people that get them or on their vibe or whatever. That one's a really important one because if you find yourself reinforcing that I'm a spiritual person now, that we've lost the track. That's a sign you've gone too far, is when you're rehearsing or reinforcing, I have to project my spiritual image because it's my identity now. You don't need to dress a certain way. You don't need to wear beads. You don't need to cover yourself in ashes. You don't need to change anything about where you are, how you look, who you hang out with, any of that. When you go, oh, that doesn't fit my spiritual stuff, gone too far, off the track. You don't need to change anything. Okay, engage honestly in any spiritual approach will give you access to personal and universal truths. There are personal and universal truths to be found in our spiritual pursuits. That's one of the best things about it. It's the best things about it. How does it go too far? Abandoning and excluding cultural norms, expectations, and societal systems. As soon as you start saying, I don't do that, that's not, I can't engage in that anymore because it's against my spirituality, or I don't believe in that anymore. I have to exclude the society. If you start excluding the society and the culture, then your spirituality has gone too far.
So, no, I just got a question on that. Number one, I know we're going to come back to these, but for the distinction, sincere spiritual pursuits on the left-hand side, when you say engaging honestly in any spiritual approach will give you access to personal and universal truths. Just a quick one for the team. Example of personal truth, insight, universal truth.
Yeah, a personal truth is I've got a little insight into what I need to do with my current world right now, where my challenge is right in front of me, or my life right in front of me. There's a little personal truth. That's okay. That's really true for me. Now I know I have to not do that and I have to do that. And it becomes really clear. If you quiet down your mind enough in any kind of basic, let's just do observation meditation or something, you can clarify your mind enough where you go, oh, that's definitely wrong for me. That's definitely right. That's a personal truth. A universal truth, you can have a big insight of, holy shit, that's universally true for everyone. Whoa, that's amazing. And they're really addictive. Personal truths and universal truths in spiritual practice can get really fucking addictive. So how you know you've gone too far is when you start with the attachment to the spiritualism comes in and you start feeling yourself going, no, I abandon that now. I exclude that now. That's not part of my spiritual life. And usual, normal cultural expectations on you, you go, nah, that's too much for me now. I don't do that anymore.
And so that teaching that you've shared right there is really important to understand why we excessively teach transcend and include, especially in
Excessively.
the spiritual
Include,
dimension.
never exclude, include, get it tattooed on your forehead, include. Yeah. Last one. It'll give you spiritual tools. So when you enter any spiritual realm, you will get spiritual tools, from mantras to prayers to incantations to meditations to whatever. When you find yourself using your spiritual tools for every conflict, gone too far. If you start to use spiritual tools for every conflict, gone too far. It's one of our biggest pieces today, is showing you how people get stuck on, I just use my spiritual tools for everything, why that's really damaging. Okay, how are we doing with that? How are we doing? They're just a couple of the biggest signs. We've got avoiding difficulty, identity, abandoning culture, and one tool for everything. They're the kind of big bangers for how
Just
you've
jump to
gone
the
too
chat
far.
panel. Jump to the chat team. Pulse check. Resonating, getting it, got it, clear, loving it, liking it, too far, too much. Okay, great.
All right, we're going to boogie on, team. Okay, this is the grace and responsibility conflict. Spiritual systems fall on the grace side. Most, if not all, spiritual systems have been designed around freeing the person, becoming more free. You don't read in spiritual texts how to be hyper responsible. You have a grace and responsibility conflict. Do I enact and push myself forward, or do I just leave it all up to grace? Most solid spiritual texts will give you the left-hand side. It's all grace, just let it go. Right? That's the underpinning of most spiritual contexts. Let it go. You're free. You're always free. You're liberated. Da 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 da. But not in the modern world. It looks a little different, right? So here's our first little chart. If your spiritual development is really high, right, into the sense of freedom and grace, if you have a high spiritual development but low healthy ego development, then what you get is psychotic depersonalization. Yay, doesn't that sound fun? Where if you go too hard on your spiritual development because it is alive and active, the evoke, that's why we have a whole teaching wheel called evoke. It's the spiritual impulse. Everyone's got a spiritual impulse. If you find it and you push it too hard and you get this grace and responsibility dynamic wrong, then you can end up in what's called psychotic depersonalization, where you don't know your identity anymore. And there's a scale to that. So you can get really wobbly as a person in today's modern world if you really cook your spirituality, right? If you go too hard. Happened to me partially when I was really investigating Buddhism. I went through a lot of the major religions and practiced them. I didn't just research them. I bloody did the thing because I wanted to know. I wanted to know. And I landed here because I was quite extreme in my personality too. So I would do things to their intensity. And when I practiced Buddhism really, really hard without any guidance, I ended up in a pretty bad mental place. And I was very, very depersonalized. So much so that I woke up one morning and I didn't believe my arms were mine. I was like, these are someone else's arms. So really, really weird stuff can happen. And I was in a really bad way because I genuinely, I was like confused. I thought my name was Brian, but it didn't sound right. So weird things can happen. Weird things can happen. Let's look at what happens in the other way. what happens if you have low spiritual development and this really kind of high healthy ego development, then you're bound to inherit narcissism, because the ego is narcissistic. It's what it is. It's what it is. It has to be self-interested. So, what are you laughing at, TC?
Just relating.
Oh,
for a long time of life, just relating.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we have in our individual ego identity in this culture versus our spiritual impulse, we have a conflict between grace and responsibility. Because how do we tackle life? Well, be responsible, take it on your shoulders, go head first, and you'll figure it out. Well, all our spiritual texts say, don't do any of that. It's all grace. You're sweet. No stress, darling. And so it's a really deep conflict. What we're looking at today is not that one. We're looking at this one. We're looking at how our spiritual development can go too far. Any questions on that before we move on? Let me just get that one out of the way because it's nice to see. It's nice to see these two little charts together. Is anyone feeling that? They know what I'm talking about? I really want to nail in this kind of grace and responsibility conflict.
Yeah, jump to the chat panel, team. It's so interesting that the observation from your background, and as I'm assessing, even just looking at this now, the clear problematic experiences of leaning too far to the left or too far to the right.
Yeah.
Individuals just relying on this really identity that's claimed not to be identity and just floating the freedom, who avoid personal responsibility. And then you have a market, tens of thousands of people that I've been through for 12 years, which is hard responsibility, mental frames, mental development, goals, action items. And a lot of us, I'm going to speak on behalf of a lot of us, if we exclude the grace and freedom drive or the spiritual drive, just leads to, I can have the life I want, I can have the money I want, I can have everything I want, I'm allowed to have the time I want because it's my life and my time. And and it just, you paint this picture really quickly of, it feels like you're free, but really you're only free because you get everything you want all the time.
Yeah.
We've got a question here, mate.
Yo, let's do it.
I think it's Brent. Say, Nat, how... Let's let me read this. I'm going to ad-lib a little bit, or maybe reword it a different way. So, Nat, how can we reconcile grace, freedom, responsibility, and the idea that we don't have a choice in any of this?
We'll get there. We'll get there. You do have a choice. You do have a choice. You always got a choice. All right. Don't do that. Why does it do that? Sorry, guys. Hang on. I'm going to stop the share and get back. Okay. Sweet. Okay, so we're just confirming we're all clear on this little distinction here, this little difference. Makes sense, because we're going to need this. We're only going to talk about this one moving forward. What happens when our spiritual stuff goes too far? So you can only push your authentic spiritual pursuits to the degree of your egoic maturity. Just let that hang around for a bit. Your spiritual life, it has, as I said, it's got a drive, right? It wants to expand. It wants to take you into new states and take you into bigger holdings and bigger contexts and bigger truths. It wants to do that, but it wobbles, right? If you don't have the egoic maturity, your spiritual state will literally wobble, and which will wobble your whole life. So if you push it too hard, you do get anxiety. Like you end up with this pretty intense anxiety because your identity literally starts to wobble under the weight of your spiritual stuff. You do stack up spirituals like poker chips when you engage in anything. If you're praying or meditating or inquiring or reading, or even if you just got Buddhas around the house, whatever, it doesn't matter. You are stacking up this spiritual kind of essence. And if you go too hard, too far, without understanding it, this deep kind of stuff, then you can wobble. So if you get attached to spirituality, it becomes your exclusive approach to today's life, you erode your markers of maturity. That's the problem here. We can't just do spirituality. We can't just do our freedom, our delicious texts, and our eye gazing and breath work. And we can't just do that because it ends up eroding the markers of maturity. Where it lands is only the healthiest, strongest egos can hold and stabilize the biggest spiritual states. And that is a fact, team. That's a fact. Only the healthiest, strongest, most responsible egos can hold and stabilize the biggest spiritual states, the biggest spiritual truths and understandings. Spiritual truths come with an energetic, and if you're not ready for it, it can really cook you. It can really, sometimes it can be too much, especially for the sensitive souls out there. What are you hearing when you see that? That's a really important point.
Yeah, that's pretty important. And I was going to ask you maybe just to elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah.
The distinction there in the teaching is, yeah, quite important.
Yeah.
Jump to the chat team.
Yeah. What are you seeing there? Yeah.
Specifically in regards to that, on the right-hand side of the screen, only the healthiest, strongest egos can hold and stabilize the biggest spiritual states. They'll be sharing the ego needs to be developed too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it does.
We'll just wait for some comments here, Nat, to come through just to confirm we're on the same page and we're good to rock and roll.
Tim, when Tommy and I are consulting through this and we're helping people, we kind of err on the side of caution. We'd rather people work on their maturity markers and let the spirituality catch up. It just works. You basically eliminate all problems when you do that. When people go the other way, which is just give me the spiritual stuff, give me the juicy stuff, give me the freedom, give me the insights, you can really, as I said, kind of wobble the system. If by getting the order right, exclusively kind of always chipping away at your markers of maturity, you've always got runway spiritually to push, to push, to push, to push. Especially if in your spiritual approach you like using substances and enhancers, anything from caffeine to plant medicine or whatever. If you like enhancing your practice, you've got to be really mature. Moving on, TC, or are we hanging?
Yeah, a lot of comments coming through. Brent's, I don't think that's sorry, Jim, I don't think that's a comment, just a share. I'll leave that for now. Yeah, these are nailing it, and Brent's shared. The ego needs to be fully present and hold space for life to avoid being swept away by the spiritual.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Guys, every spiritual text you have in your hand, from the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Bhagavad Gita, whatever, like and you reread it. Just by reading, you might think, oh, I'm just reading a book. But you're engaging something so alive whenever you're around spiritual anything. You're engaging something really, really alive. And the sensitive ones will feel it and go, holy shit, there's something there for me. Cool. Cool. Let's go. Oh, that's a reminder for me. This next slide's really good. This next one's a really, really good one because it just marries up so nicely. All right, we've got our market. We're going to go down our markers of maturity on the left, and then we got too far red car on the right. So what happens when we've got our markers of maturity and how spirituality can kind of hurt that or not let us continue on. So here's our primary markers of strongest healthy egos: reliability, commitment, steadfastness, responsibility, and impeccability. That's a really, really strong, clear, healthy ego. Reliable, committed, steadfast, responsible, and impeccable. If you don't know what we're talking about here, we've done a shitload in the past on our markers of maturity and why they are the throne of the heart. If you hear Tommy Bridie bang on about this throne of the heart, got to rebuild the throne, got to rebuild the throne, got to rebuild the throne of the heart. What we're saying is develop these things as far as you can. I think Tommy and I are doing the entire opposite to everyone else. We are crazy. We're crazy on building the base of the rocket ship. Everyone else just wants the rocket launch. We're psychos on building the base because we're so focused on grounding, because when that thing goes, we want everything to be so square. When that heart really wants to kick off, it's based on how developed these are. Okay, here's how we can go too far. Reliability. Loss of ego equilibrium. I have to remind you, we're talking about if you high spiritual, low ego development, right? That's what we're talking about. It's the context. You can lose your ego equilibrium, renders your state of mind unreliable and ungrounded. I can, right? These last 12 months, you can lose your ego equilibrium, and then you're unreliable. Your state of mind is unreliable. You're ungrounded. In one day from wake to sleep, you can go through 20 different moods. If you have pushed your spirituality too far, you become unreliable. You energetically become unreliable. You don't know what you want from hour to hour. Nicole, why am I looking at you right now in your history? Commitment. Culture demands commitment, right? The culture that we're in, commitment is a demand. Overdone spirituality makes all commitment feel like loss of freedom. That's how you've gone too far. If general commitments, guys, general commitments that everyone has to do, have to be committed, have to be committed. Culture demands commitment. If general commitments start feeling like, oh, loss of freedom, can't do that, whatever, you've gone too far. If the general cultural commitments feel like they are that you're losing freedom because you have to be a generally committed person and you're spiritual, then too far. Do we want to pause or bang them through? What do you reckon?
Bang him out, and then we'll
Yeah.
see where we're at.
Steadfastness. Okay. Steadfastness is the ability to do hard shit for a long time, have endurance, emotionally, physically, intellectually, whatever. The ability to have endurance. If you overdo your spirituality, you are sensitizing yourself. Remember that. You're making yourself a sensitive little fairy. I don't know, a sensitive little being. Overdone spirituality makes you excessively vulnerable. If you do a lot of spirituality, you're taking down your armor. You're taking down your armor, whether you know it or not. So you can end up looking like everything's scary and become excessively vulnerable. And you can't do hard things or face hard things anymore because you're this sensitive little spiritualized thing. And the world's scary and people are scary and culture is scary. It's like, no, culture is exactly the same. You've become excessively vulnerable. And that's why people who push it too far, they stay in their house and with their crystals and they don't go very far, and they sit on their one cup of coffee for 4 hours, and they're just little delicate little things. It's excessive vulnerability. Okay, loss of ego equilibrium creates a spiritual shadow. This is a really interesting one. Really, really interesting one. If your spiritual identity goes too far, you can start to unconsciously avoid responsibility. Because the spiritual shadow goes, no, I don't want anything. I just want the freedom thing. I just want the grace and the freedom thing. So anything that's responsible, no, I'll wiggle my way out of it. Lastly, and then we'll discuss. This is a really important one too, right? If you start doing heavy spiritual work, you do open up the boundaries, right? So when you just do spiritual things, speak spiritual things, be spiritual, remember you're in a culture that doesn't really want you to be that. So you can become confusing for other people and they don't know where you stand anymore. And gradually people just walk away because you're doing your spiritual thing, great for you. But if you start using different language and different contexts and different ways of being and thinking, people just go, oh, that's cool, but I don't know where you stand anymore. So you can't be impeccable. Impeccable is, I know where Tommy is. I know what he's doing. He's my business partner. I trust him like fucking like nothing else. I know where he's at. If he started floating off into some spiritual land, I'm like, why is my business partner off with the fairies? I've now lost impeccability with him. But he's not do that. I'm the one likely to do it. But people around you, if they come over spiritualized, you won't even know, but you'll gradually back away because they're not being impeccable. You can't trust them. You don't know where there's this eggshells. Okay, that's a really good slide. That's a really solid one. You've got clear markers of maturity and how spirituality can eat away at them. This is the slide of the morning.
How are we doing, guys? Jump to the chat panel. Any questions from this slide before we move on? And we're 35 minutes in now.
Yeah, sweet. all of this has come across my desk, guys, like all of it, but whether it's a person directly or a client saying, I'm struggling with my sister because of this happening, or like, and I'm just going, whoa, what? Because people are fucking exploring today. People are no joke exploring. And the shit they're coming up with to avoid the maturity is crazy. Like, I'm talking life-changingly crazy. Because kids come into it and money comes into it. And, you know, all this really important shit, really, really fucking important shit gets mixed in with someone's spiritual exploration, and they can't keep their shit together. And people are just pulling their hair out, going, I don't even know how to deal with this person anymore.
And if going off the class, if you overdo your spirituality, the majority is a bit of a judgment call here, but the majority of approaches that are being taught continue to fall on the grace and freedom side, which is, well, everyone should
Exactly.
just get used to it, and you're
Tommy's
allowed to
got
say
it.
whatever you want.
Yep.
We had a client call us recently whose people around them are getting concerned about them, and they're just sharing everything and anything. And it's like, no, come back in a line, come back in a ground. And I
Yeah.
know I've done spiritual process that's suppressing me though.
Yeah.
It's
There you
like,
go. There you
no,
go.
where's your maturity? Show up. You live in this culture. This is the expectations. This is what's required. You're the
Yep. This is
one
where we're at.
that actually needs to take responsibility here, not that person.
Yep. Yep. So really feel into that, guys. Like, if this is no joke stuff, there is real freedom to be found in spirituality, real freedom. And when it grabs and it takes hold, you can go, that little taste of nectar of freedom that you've never had before. You can go, well, I found it. This is it. See you guys.
Yeah, we've got a comment here. Terry shared, this is where it's gone too far. You appear to be unstable within the accepted culture.
Yeah. He's a bit
The
of,
thing
yeah. Go,
the
Tommy.
thing to be yeah, the thing to be aware of here is that you can take this as far as you want if your markers of maturity in the throne of the heart is built, regardless of how far you go, you don't
Yep.
come across unstable. That's the thing.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
vulnerable ego looks unstable. There's
Yep.
the identity, there's this thing, because they're literally floating off in the wind.
Yeah. Tommy's got it.
Nat, yeah, Nat can go off on one of his 6 week, oh my God, religious explorations internationally to find some of the most woo-woo sites that haven't even been written in Western text yet because no one knows about them. There's no second guessing from me. It's just
Yeah.
like, boom. There's nothing to worry about. There's no concern. Healthy,
Well,
functional ego. He's not getting swept away. Nothing's going to engulf him. He's
but
solid. He's fine.
don't worry, guys. They're second guessing from me. So I am going to Kazakhstan next year on another expedition. So we'll see what comes out of that. Um, questions on this. This is really bloody important. This is giving you a simple little map, right, where you can go as hard as you want and keep your shit together.
Penelope sharing, I feel like commitment and responsibility are related.
Yeah, of
Reliability
course
and
they are. Yeah.
impeccability also related.
Yeah, all related, all maturity, all come under the banner of maturity, and all a problem if we start to lose these things. Literally, they're so important for everyone else's stability and yours. There's a little golden rule, guys, when we're talking about spirituality, is that it's authentic spirituality is about liberation. It's about liberation, right? It's about freeing yourself. Now, you can get really, 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 really free, but you have to remember one thing. No one else is doing it to that level, right? So you can't use the language like we're all free and we're all one and all that when no one else is living from that place. Until all of us, every single person has had the realization that we're all one and we're here for liberation. Until everyone has realized that, shut your mouth. Until everyone is there, don't even talk about it. Just do your own spiritual practices for yourself. Don't let it bleed into everything else.
Personal question for you from Penelope. Nat, what are you
No.
searching for traveling to Kazakhstan? What are you searching for there?
What am I searching for? I'm not really searching for anything. There's just a landscape that's really, really precious and beautiful over there. Not many people have been there, and it's quite holy. It's quite a holy site. So it's not really like it's more of a like, what the hell's going on over there? There you go. It's more of yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna find. I don't know what we're gonna find. same thing. It's my same approach to Mongolia. My brother and I just kind of rocked up there, got a car, and went, we're heading in this direction because there's something over here. And holy shit, was there something over there? Same thing. Same thing in the stands. It's not just Kazakhstan. We're going to look at multiple stands, Turkmenistan, etc. I'm pretty obsessed. I'm pretty obsessed with the mystical heart of the Middle East right now, and have been for a while. So we will see, team. Whatever I find, I'll bring it back. Could be some rocks, you know. All right. So it's common in spiritual systems to learn this is where we get to that single technique thing. It's really, really common in spiritual systems. If you have a guru or a teacher or whatever, they give you one technique, and we use that for every conflict now, because you're a spiritual thing now. Don't worry about life stuff. You're a spiritual thing now. We've got one technique. And so remembering our primary influences from the East, they didn't have the modern challenges that we face today. And we can lose our humanity, because if you are given a spiritual technique, we had an old client who sort of still floats around a little bit. She was given the mantra Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, really common Hindu mantra. And her teacher just said, just use that for everything. Like if you have difficulty inside, just repeat your mantra. If you can't figure out something out, just repeat your mantra. You know, so that's a really common thing, is that we have this kind of singular approach. Now, here's the primary problem with that. We'll go back to our conflict, guys. We'll go back to our conflict. On one side, we have a responsibility, which is mastery and fullness. Now, our Western mind, we've primarily lived on this side of the coin. Responsibility, mastery, and fullness. We'll have a great life if we master something, have a lot of fulfillment. A lot of our language is based around fullness and fulfillment. Now, there's, let me just move you guys out of the way again. Sorry. There is, if you get attached to this exclusively, sorry, hang on. Why are you guys not moving? Okay. If you get attached to this exclusively, then there's a suffering of incompletion, because there's a whole other side of the coin, being the freedom. And it's not full, it's free. Fullness and freedom compete. It's like our responsibility. It's our responsibility and grace conflict kind of reworded. You get a conflict between fullness and freedom. Real freedom is quite scary along the way. Just talk to Bridie. I'm managing a little angel there as on her freedom quest. So the attachment to the responsibility side, it just ends in suffering. I'm not kidding. If you're just attached to responsibility, it's all about I can do it, you will land in a pit of suffering. If you just get attached to the other side, then this is where the no self stuff can come in. It leads to drastic loss of meaning and depersonalization and suffering. That's the crazy. If you just do one or the other, you land in suffering. Why? Because you're looking at it. I am the model of this. You just land in suffering either way. The scariest bit about the grace and liberation side, the spiritual side, if you overdo it, you can feel and enter these non-human places, right? Where you don't feel real, life doesn't feel real, everyone looks fake, everyone looks plastic, and it's horrifying. The felt experience is horror. I'm in a horror show. I'm in a horror show where this is just meat sacks being mutilated by people, and we're all going to die. So that's where you can land. What we're doing here, what we're doing here at Goy is what happens when you smash them together. And something pretty special actually happens when you smash them together. That's the whole point. Pause here. We've got one more slide to go. We're gonna solve the problem of what do we use our spiritual techniques for, and what we don't use them for. But how are we feeling? How are we feeling? Just looking at this going, if I just do that mastery of fullness, responsibility, I land there. If I just do spiritual stuff, I land there. What are we saying?
Jump to the chat team. What are you saying? What's coming up for you? Take a moment to comment. Anyone experiencing one at the moment? Penelope sharing polarity. Love the answer, Brett. Very Westerners answer as well. We can have it all.
Yeah, bro, we can have it all, boy. We can have it all, of course. We can have it all. We can have it all.
Terry Sharon can see why people can go too far either way.
Yeah, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Well, guys, this is why we put Pathways together. Like Pathways is I'm so proud of it, what we've done here. I'm so fucking proud of it. It's like the step-by-step nature of taking someone off their mind using freedom. And we've got spirituality kind of draped all through it. We've got maturity draped all through it, really strong ego development. Like we've put together a really, really fucking cool thing that you will not find anywhere else. Is this life beyond mind, rebuilding the throne of the heart, taking on the heart's adventure into your essential life is the amalgamation of all this. And there's in the heart's process of what we're teaching here in Pathways, where they come together is the heart's journey. And imagine above the triangle is the heart's journey of where all this just goes click. Whoa, holy shit, I'm a whole new thing. When these two things come together, that you don't just get both of them. When these two massive metaphysical aspects come together, you get a brand new world and sense of self that you
And
can't get. Yeah.
sorry guys, everyone aware, Nat just said it pretty effortlessly. Everyone aware of the term pathways? Because Nat's said it, we've mentioned it a couple of times in the last two OTGs that it's been in process, it's being made for like the last 90
Pathways is on.
days. We're about to show you in a minute, but I just want to get a pulse check from people. Penelope, I'm looking at Brett, Terry, Georgia. I don't think you've been here the last couple of classes, so you're aware of that term. We're about to dive into it.
Yeah, cool. Cool, cool, cool. I want everyone to do it, honestly. It's cheap. It's cheap. It's 3 courses. They're $550 each. You can take, we've got very, very kind of loose timelines, but you don't need Tommy or I. You can walk yourself down this pathway in the background of your life. Like it's really incredible. Okay. So there's a couple things, right, that we use in Pathways. We show you exactly where to use spiritual technique. Because spiritual technique is precious and the liberation and freedom is real. It's absolutely real. I don't care where you get your spiritualism from. Basically, all aiming at the same thing. We've got it really dialed on where to actually use these techniques. So, first one is very strong attachment. Spiritual techniques are a chisel on very, very strong attachment that your psychology won't let you get to. Too much, too heavy, too spicy, too much emotion. Spiritual technique is perfect for heavy attachment. This is why you see in narcotics and alcohol addiction, they do all the psych work. It doesn't really budge anything. They collapse on their knees and they go, I just can't do it anymore. And they have a liberation moment and they use spiritual techniques and boom, they get through the addiction. All that is understanding the direct technique that spiritual work and tools is very, very powerful for very strong attachment. The next one, irreconcilable conflict. In Pathways, we show you that a lot of our struggles is we find ourselves in irreconcilable conflicts, which is going, I can't solve this. We've got to pause the mastery and responsibility, going, I actually can't solve this. This is unsolvable. That's perfect location for spiritual technique. Is irreconcilable conflict. Sorry, guys. And lastly, one of our biggest pieces of a work here is insecurity tolerance. When you do enter a life beyond your mind, you go into the river of insecurity. You enter into, you volunteer for the river of insecurity. So you work with the energetics of insecurity a lot in Pathways. Spiritual techniques are gold for insecurity tolerance. All right, so if we can get our spiritual techniques in the right place, it just fully magnifies their power. If you put your spiritual techniques in the wrong place, you just wreck things. So where to not use it? Again, all in Pathways, this is where we don't use spiritual techniques. We use maturity and responsibility. Where are those things? Well, relational conflicts. Don't use spiritual techniques in your relationships. Please don't. Just don't do it. I've only seen it go bad. I've only seen it go bad because, yeah, I don't want to go too far into it. But here's where we don't use spiritual techniques. Financial health and financial organization. Please, for the love of God, Don't pray for more money or use manifestation or whatever. Go figure it out. Go get organized financially. Be mature. Don't use spiritual techniques there. Don't use spiritual techniques for your physical health. Don't just Joe Dispenza your way through a broken wrist. Like, it doesn't work that way. And then psychopathology. What are you laughing at, do you think? If there's actual psych stuff going on, then be mature and use psych techniques and medication if necessary. When spiritual techniques get put in the wrong spot, it's just mayhem, guys. It's just mayhem because it's ungrounded. It's the wrong tool for the wrong job. You can break things. So this is why we're really, really, really fucking proud of Pathways, because it puts shit in the right spot. In all these big contexts that we're exploring, to really enter your essential life is you really got to know, where do I show up and be responsible, and where do I engage my surrender and my liberation? Right? Especially we've got people here like Caleb and Bridie who they'll put their hand up and say, yeah, I've walked this conflict over and over and over. And when you get it right, it's magnificent. Cool. Questions on that? That's a kind of nice little ending, right? I've only really found 3 places in experience where spiritual techniques are absolutely the go, and I wouldn't use anything else. If I'm in a strong attachment or irreconcilable conflict, I'm exclusively spiritual in that moment. Get away from me. This is my stuff to do. That's my stuff to do. Over there, others are involved. How we feeling? This is the last slide.
Yeah, just getting some comments coming through saying, love it, love the differentiation.
Like, guys, sorry, as you're typing in, the amount of relief we've seen in our clients in Pathways who go, oh my God, it feels so nice to actually know I can't do anything in my life right now, and the best approaches I have is engaging my spirituality. You know how much peace people have when they go, oh, I don't have to do the responsibility thing for this moment in time. And then when it rolls around and they do have to be responsible, they go, yeah, give it to me. Give it to me. Give me the organization. Give me the challenge, right? They're really reinforced.
That, you know me well these days. I went, 10? Oh, it would have been 9.5 years of doing the responsibility card.
Yeah.
Due to resisting the spiritual calling, due to some things that
Yeah.
happened when I was younger. And I was like,
yeah.
And it's funny, you can take so much responsibility to solve psych problems, but very strong attachment,
Yep.
irreconcilable conflict, and insecurity tolerance, it does not budge.
Doesn't budge.
With mental maturity and ego development in another program.
Yeah.
And so when you apply the right spiritual technique, it's interesting because not only was, oh man, some things solved up in about 60 to 90 days, those things, when the ego just quietens down enough, was like, yeah, and look, I wouldn't tell anyone this, but I've done all those programs and $250,000 trying to solve these ones.
Yeah. Guys, you're in for $550. Pathways, you're in for $550 and you're away. Like, we're not doing these. We want to make this accessible to everyone on every budget, and we're not kidding. So when you understand this right-hand side, the spiritual stuff, strong attachments, irreconcilable conflicts, and insecurity tolerance suck. Okay, they are heavy experiences. They're not fun. They're really, really, really hard. But when you apply a sincere spirituality to them, you can turn it around, honestly, in 60 seconds. Something can pop. Where if you are understanding, holy shit, this attachment is too much for me, and you go, this is what we teach people to do. I'm attached and I can't do anything about it. I'm attached and I can't do anything about it. Step number 1. Step number 2, what spiritual technique feels comfortable for you? Inquiry, prayer, meditation, mantra, reading text, whatever. And if they apply that combination of strong attachment, spiritual technique, things can happen like that. So yeah, it's been fun, guys. It's been fun. We've got a really, really cool thing that's really accessible, and you can start right now. Yes, TC.
Couple of examples now of irreconcilable conflicts, as opposed to conflicts that people might
I'll give you an easy one.
Personal development to try to solve.
Yeah, I'm attached to someone in my relationship, and I really love them and care about them. but I want to spend more time with them, but they want to go do their thing. Like that's irreconcilable. You're going to be attached to them while a person does whatever the hell they want to do because they're a free person too. You can't solve that problem of having your needs met like that. You can't solve that. That's an irreconcilable conflict because your attachment's not going to stop and they ain't going to stop being free. You can't solve that. And people go round and round and round and round, hourly, on the minute, daily, trying to solve that. How do I get to see them? Can I show up? Well, am I being too much? No, pause. That's an irreconcilable conflict. The only thing you got is a spiritual technique there. Right? It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's precious. It works, guys. This is so clear. If you can identify the difference between reconcilable conflicts where you need to show up and that'll solve it versus even if I show up, it ain't going to solve it, that's where your effective spirituality comes in.
No matter how many letting go practices I do, it ain't going to solve it. No
Yep.
matter how many letters I write and throw them in
Ain't
the
going to
fire.
solve it. Ain't going to solve it. Nothing's going to solve it. You need to, pathways, we teach you what is an irreconcilable conflict and what is a reconcilable conflict.
Now, you've been chatting to a lot of people behind the scenes. Is everyone aware of Pathways and have the documents that you've put together?
No, but you guys, I'm going to show you. I'm just gonna, honestly change of plan here, guys. I'm going to show you in the next whatever minutes. Let me just take you through the curriculum of course 1, right? Can everyone see this? Yep, cool. Okay. Fundamentals, right? Fundamentals. Here's what you get in fundamentals. First thing is you get the mind-body split workbook. This is just teaching you how to be a feeling thing again. Techniques to recover how to be a feeler. So that's just introductory, but here's where the content comes in. You get the river of, you step you into the river of insecurity. Learning detail the process of living beyond your mental ego, direct methods for undoing attachment, extract personalized wisdom from a sense of insecurity. You learn deeply about insecurity, right? How important it is. You learn the two oceans meet, any reconcilable conflict. The fastest method for getting out of the prison into the heart, out of the mind prison, exit mental looping, learn the paradox between mind and heart. All of these things which are irreconcilable, where if you can recognize them, you can go, I know exactly what to do now. Learn what problems do not have a solution. Learn the discernment between when to act and when to inquire. I can reword that, which is say, learn the discernment between when to be responsible and when to be free. Because that's one portion of it. You learn the prodigal journey, which is a difference to the hero journey that's happening now. You learn about cultural ego and cultural detoxing. This one's an absolute banger. Like 6 growth required values our culture is unconsciously run by. How to identify them in you. We continue on. You learn about the markers of maturity and rebuilding the throne of the heart and the top 6 essential qualities. All of this, $550. $550 and you're away. You don't need Tommy or I anymore. Like we've distilled this thing down to 3 steps. There's 3 courses. They're $550 each. You do one, then once you do one, you can pause. Once you do one, you can do it as many times as you want. We have currently people now. There are some people who have gone into course number 2, which is then you go learning inquiry. You go through the entire inquiry curriculum. And the inquiry curriculum is just precious as. You learn the structure of the ego, you learn the theory of inquiry, you learn the structure and process of the inner void, and then you learn the deep practice of inquiry, breaking down the life attempt, how we get beyond our life attempts and into our heart. It's massive, guys. It's absolutely massive. Like this is the entire curriculum. The entire curriculum you can go through for $1,500. You will have a pathway that will literally blow your mind. It'll be the best thing you ever do. That's a guarantee.
Now, when you say that, do people have to purchase the 3 programs and they do it, or can they just do the first one?
Just purchase one. Just purchase one. Go through it. There's an assessment at the end that you've got to pass to go to the next one. That's it. So your only entry point is to do fundamentals, life beyond mind, fundamentals. Get the assessment done. Once you get the assessment done, you can choose. Do I want to go to inquiry now? Do I want to sit and chill in this?
What's the assessment look like? Because like to have that criteria in place to say, look, you actually can't do 2 unless you understand 1.
Yeah.
Because we want to do the justice to life beyond mind teachings. We don't want a heap of people just come through. I watched a couple of videos. Yeah, I'm a life beyond mind. I live that way. What's that assessment look like?
yeah, the assessment is a multi-choice question that you got to get 100% at the end, and then you have to have a phone call, a Zoom with me, where verbally on the fly I hit you with questions. So you got to know your shit. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Otherwise, the process won't happen, right? You've got to have these things set up. You got to know. You got to know this territory, know this language, and know these experiences, because they're it's so weird, guys. We've dialed this pathway down, and people that we have 16 people doing it now. They're all tracking the exact same experience of whoa, beyond my mind, into my heart, and it's a feeling process, a deep feeling process. So that's pathways. We love Goy. Tommy and I and Brady love doing this, guys. We absolutely love it. But it's not something you don't need to buy us. You don't need to buy us. You just need to know these steps. And then this essential life is like software that sits behind everything. You don't have to change. Don't need a certain special education. You don't need to change your own personal development. You don't need to change nothing. It just sits behind.
And that do Pathways members get to come to group roundtable, or was Nicole
No,
an
no.
exception?
If you do Pathways, you get Wednesday roundtable. You get to hang out with us every Wednesday in an open forum where there's the hot seats going on, there's questions, there's inquiries, there's people getting live coaching by me. Like Wednesdays are spicy because it's all in. No, like where's your essential life at? And Tommy and I and Brady poke around and guide.
Yeah, because and team, just you're like looking at a couple of people too that have been here since the OG, like Penelope, Terry, Brett, and one of the other lads just said they're keen that they just had to duck off to work.
Yep.
Georgie, we've been running group roundtables for Life Beyond Mind for the past 2 years, and what we noticed is we're letting people into that had no idea of the top 6 core fundamental teachings of Life Beyond Mind. And so that's when Nat said, no, we need to put this curriculum together. People that are hanging out in the intimate group circle have to be aware of these core teachings so that we can all continue to have a conversation, not to sound rude, but without being held back, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, Simon. I wish I had this 30 years ago. Who was that?
Yeah. So guys, if you want, like, I can just flick you a link. You can literally start now and get all the information, or message us directly. There's an onboarding call that has to happen. It's all in there. Like once you start, everything's in there. You don't, there's a book that you get with it, the videos, the questionnaires, the quizzes. Yeah, it's a great process. So just drop it if you want in. Just go in the chat pedal now and just go, yep, give it to me. I'm in, and I will sort you out.